I decided to do something a little bit different with my journal for February. I wanted this sort of storybook, romantic garden kind of theme, like the secret garden vibes, the fantasy feeling that you get. And yeah, it's a little bit related to Valentine's Day. Even though I don't really care that much about Valentine's Day, I still like February having that vibe. Especially because I'm born in February, so I like it having a romantic vibe to it. I recently purchased some stamps that have numbers on them, and I also got some acrylic markers, and I was excited to try both of them out. So that's going to be a little different to how I normally do my layouts, but also I've decided for February to try doing 1 day per page. Normally I do 2 pages because I like to, draw and make notes and scribble and things, but I've found that lately I've been either too distracted or too busy or really just zoning out in my free time that I don't really feel like sketching anything and I don't have any notes to take, so I really just want less room to fill, and that way it's less daunting and I'm more likely to actually write in a journal entry or something. So that's the goal. That's what I'm trying this time, but I'll see how it goes, and that will inform whether or not I keep doing that in March, or if I go back to the 2 pages if I feel like it's not enough room. But yeah, that's kind of messed up how many journals I'll be using this year, because I might end up having like half a month at the end of this journal and half a month in the beginning of the next one, which will annoy me. I might use just the last pages of this journal for sketching and start a whole new month in a new journal. Sorry about the shaking while I'm erasing things, but my camera is on a tripod that sits on the desk, so everything shakes whenever I move it around too much. The desk itself doesn't really shake, so I was surprised when I looked at the footage to see how much the camera actually shook when I did kind of anything. But sorry if you got a bit motion sick there. It's mostly over, I think. It'll keep shaking a little bit. I don't know. This is the best angle I could get though, so hopefully it's not too bad. So this is my one of my acrylic markers, and I really love how you can still see through it, but it just has such a strong pigment, like a really strong color to it. And I'm a little bit obsessed, so I'll probably be using them a lot in future. I got a lot of colors, and yeah, they're pretty cool. I don't end up keeping that stained glass image for the rose because I felt like the 2 different shades of pinky, like the reds of the rose versus the pink, didn't really match. So I'll end up using that somewhere else, probably. Like, not that specific one, but I had a whole sticker sheet of stained glass window images that I'll put elsewhere. I am actually working on it's not really a journal. I guess it is a little bit. I'm engaged. I recently got engaged. And so I've started a kind of workbook for planning the wedding. Just somewhere where I can make notes and keep track of like people we might need to hire, and like, yeah, planning a wedding is a lot. But I also want to be able to look back and like have the memories of the planning process. And yeah, so I'm using a notebook for that, where I wrote out like the details of the proposal, and I put some photos of me and Cam in there. And so far it's very pretty and nice. So I might add some of the stained glass window images into that just to make it prettier. Make it all pretty. Gotta make it pretty or else I won't use it. So yeah, that's possibly where it'll be. I don't know if I'll post my wedding notes book. I don't know what to call it. Wedding book journal. on here, because it's not really arty, it's more just like note taking and checklists and journal entries that I don't particularly want to share online because they're personal, but yeah. All of these tapes are from the Washi Gang. You can also get them, I think both of these are from the Quirky Cup Collective. Don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure, but I usually just get all my stuff from Washi Gang because it's an Australian store that always has stuff that I like. Not sponsored, just like it. I think those are supposed to be cherry blossoms, but I ended up just like making them kind of generic flowers, so I added little stalks and things onto them just to give things some extra flourish. Oh, and as you can see, I made a swatch of each of the colours that I got in the acrylic marker set, just so I can see what they look like once they've dried. Because some of them, you can see the paint inside the pen, but it changes a little bit when it dries. Sometimes they get a bit lighter and sometimes they get a little bit darker. And that can be annoying if you want a specific colour and then it changes when it dries. Now I write my plans in the calendar section, and I usually just use a black pen, so as long as I'm using a background color that is fine with black pen, there's no problems. And I like to have the numbers nice and big, and I can write over the top of them and still be able to read them, so I think this page came out really nice. I ended up tracing around the stamps because I didn't like the lack of contrast for the jagged edges versus the white background, but I think I like it better this way before I added the outline, but it is what it is. Now, because I was going to have less space than I usually do, I made a point of measuring out how much space I thought I might need for a journal entry, and then like trying to really minimize the amount that I would use for the like stat keeping. Unfortunately, this meant that the boxes I'd already printed where I fill in what the weather was and what the moon cycle was, it didn't really fit anymore, so I cut it in half and put it to the other side. I think it ended up looking nice. Obviously, if I keep doing these spreads in future, I'll just reduce the size of those boxes and write it in a little bit smaller so that I can fit them in that left-hand column. But I do like having plenty of space to fill out, so I don't know if I've shown what it looks like to have a finished like weather moon cycle app thingy, but basically in the top I'll just put a little picture here. I draw what the like weather icon was in the top and do the highs and lows temperature, and then on the bottom one where there's a circle already in there, I color in how much of the moon you can see, or rather I color in the part that's shadow, and then write in the percentage of like how much light you can see in the moon and what the moon phase is. I feel like I just made that sound more complicated than it actually is, but if you saw the picture that I just put up, you probably understand what I mean. I am glad that I had some washi tape to print my little headers onto, because I think they came out really cute against the pink. And I did measure it in terms of like I'm more likely to write a lot about my health compared to like, I'm not going to do a lot of different workouts in a day. I usually will do like one, and I have multiple lines to write in, so I don't think I would fill the workout space, even though there is plenty of space for the workout. It could be like, I did half an hour on the treadmill, that's one line, and then also 20 minutes of dancing, which is a second line. So like I'm not that much of a active person, if that's shocking news. It's probably not. Yeah. Much more likely to play video games or do some crafty business where I'm sitting down the whole time. I have recently got a little bit into gardening, but that's sort of a short bursts workout because, say, weeding is quite physically intensive if you don't do it every single day, which I don't. I would rather wait until it's looking rough and then go berserk on it versus picking the little bits out every day, which I think is what you're supposed to do, but whatever. Oh, right. What I was going to say is that I'm glad I printed these on washi tape paper because my handwriting is really bad, which you would have seen on that like thumbnail of the weather filled in panel. Anyway, here is the overview of how all my pages ended up. As usual, I like to have them all be a little bit different. I tried just painting a panel where I wanted to put stamps so that you'd be able to see the contrast of the white part of the stamp. And they all came out kind of blobby, which I don't love. I think in future I would use the pink pen to go around it, or maybe tear off some like brown paper and stick that in and then stick the stamps over the top. My preference is to use stamps where the edges have an outline to them, but I have a whole reel of these stamps that I purchased and I love them. So it's really just a matter of adding a background that I can stick them onto to look nice. But yeah, overall I'm happy with the layout, and yeah, let me know what you think.